Zhu Yuan might be the most calculated brain-dead character in the game. Literally. Every day there's a new player cop blocking your enjoyment of Zenless Zone Zero by telling you none of the cool stuff matters, like combos, hidden mechanics, switch tech, and more. Losers! A big reason for that comes down to a simple fact. The game doesn't force you to do it. But does that mean you shouldn't do it? Fortunately for you, my goal is to open your third eye and expand your horizons on Zhu Yuan, the latest S-rank ether agent with a fat ass. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can take her ridiculously match-friendly gameplay into this. Today we're talking about what the loud minority of players don't want you to know by breaking down 1. The basics of Zhu Yuan's impressive kit, how to take your own gameplay to the next level, her highest performing game loadouts, and the potential best teams that will keep her as a top 2 DPS. Starting off, Zhu Yuan is considered a high mobility type of character. Everything she does has some hidden movement attribute attached to it. This means that while you could just spam left click and a parry, you'll unfortunately lose out on everything that makes the character as strong as she is. Similar to some other characters in the game, Zhu Yuan's outstanding burst damage revolves around this meter up here. Enhanced Shotshell, which now gives her 2 active DPS modes, Assault mode and Suppressive mode. Shortly here, you'll learn that all the crazy movement you're about to start doing is imperative for stacking her meter and maximizing her burst damaging playstyle of unloading on an enemy's face. How you gain these is simple, but can get a little complicated to keep track of in the heat of battle. 1, basics 4 and 5, dodge counters, and quick assist will all give 1 shot shell. The second method is EX special, full barrage, which is going to give you 3. The third method being Zhu Yuan doesn't have a physical parry, but instead she has an evasive parry. Doing this will give you another 3. And then lastly is her burst / chain attack that gives you guessed it, 3. So in total, that's 6 different ways she can load up 9 bullets, and your job is to figure out your favorite combination of any of these so the pressure stays on without missing a beat. Thus, the true essence of DPS, which, if you didn't know, DPS stands for damage per second. With these enhanced shot shells, her damage jumps up by nearly 500% compared to using the standard basics, and a big chunk of that is due to her core passive increasing the damage upwards of 80% just for being under suppressive mode. Even better is the fact that she has one of the easiest burst combos in the game, because it's literally just looping all 9 shots into dodge cancels and then a chain attack. That leads me into the most important aspect of Zhu Yuan, how to play her. Most of the combos you might see probably look like this. Her playstyle offers the best of both worlds, funnily enough, granting you freedom to dance around the map in Hollow Zero or around your enemies in Shiyu defense. Zhu Yuan's assault mode is kinda like her offline state. There's not a lot of crazy damage here, but there is a lot of movement. I won't bore you with the details about all 5 hits, but instead show you how the important ones should be used to your advantage. Basic 1 is the raw starter, and just that. Use this for quick hits, resets, juggles, and most importantly, getting straight into basic 3. By moving left or right while pressing basic attack, you can activate one of Zhu Yuan's signature abilities, the dash. I'm pretty sure it's not called that, I just call it that, but this opens the door for everything. I'll list the combo notations on screen, but the gist of what you're doing is weaving this dash attack in between combos. And now you ask, why? Because it helps you build more energy, gives more shot cell stacks than mashing square, readjust your position on command thanks to an omnidirectional dash, triggers perfect dodge counters without losing your save state, opens switch tech opportunities, smoothly transitions into any of her enhanced attacks, and chains all of her more powerful attacks together by skipping basic attacks. I know I just dumped a lot of words on you, and you're probably asking yourself how one singular dash gives her all of that. But this is what I mean when I say there are hidden things inside of these characters' kits that the game just doesn't tell you on purpose. So now your new B&B combo should look something closer to BA1, dash attack, BA3 into BA4, EX special, BA6, dash attack, BA5 back into switch or enhanced shot shells or another chain, whatever it is that you want to end off your combo with. And huge shout outs to Soul for giving us a deeper explanation here. What's happening during this B&B is what we're referring to as the save state property. Now, this is just something that we're calling it. You guys can call it whatever it is that you want, but it's easier for us to register things when we have a name for it. What this means is whatever was supposed to happen next in the basic attack chain is saved so long as you don't drop the combo. This is why that dash attack is so important, because it basically gives you access to 3 to 4 extra moves inside of one combo string that otherwise wouldn't be there. There's also this basic attack 6 move that is nowhere in her kit, which keeps the loop going from not just basic attack 5, but also EX special now. You also don't have to worry about the what do I do if I can't time my dash attacks for a perfect dodge question, because thankfully, initiating a perfect dodge counterattack will always result in Zhu Yuan starting at basic attack 3, leading you right back into that BNB from earlier. And thanks to the fact she can dance around enemies to consistently trigger perfect dodge counters, we have now entered the realm of infinite bullets. If this somehow gets perfected, I nominate we call it the bullet hell state because of video games, but it is what it is. It's kind of how like in Tekken, most characters have, I don't know, 20 different ways they can start a combo, but it usually leads into the same reliable button. That's basically anything into BA3 for Zhu Yuan. Get super used to doing this because the only way to break this chain is by literally effing up the combos. As far as big boy bosses go, Zhu Yuan was an interesting one. I honestly tried looking for some unnecessary nonsense to create beautiful combos, but Zhu Yuan is just so strong that she quite literally only has to press a maximum of 2 buttons to cash out her biggest damage. All this damage is loaded into suppressive mode, and now that the enemy is stunned, your burst combo will dish out its highest possible damage. And I don't know if the dev team did this on purpose, but her entire burst combo ends around the exact amount of time the stun meter wears off. You will get bopped by any other enemy from just standing still though. So if you did it this way instead, now you've not only corrected the behavior of standing still, which will get you hit, otherwise interrupting your DPS, leaving you with plenty of room for error, an ultimate, another EX special, perfect dodge counters being triggered without interrupting your burst combo, or whatever you want really. Familiarizing yourself with these 2 combos and finding every opportunity you can to use them will lead you into a smoother practice of mastering Zhu Yuan. Once you understand her and everything starts to feel like muscle memory, that's when you can start adding teammates like Xing Yi or Anbi and create beautiful team combos that lead into new setups for your own playstyle. Regarding her talent priority, I'd personally recommend investing into her basic attack, ultimate, skill, dodge, and then assist. But there's something I want to explain about that improved burst combo I mentioned earlier, and that's M1. Per usual, most of the gacha audience is free to play and rarely chooses to vertically invest into a character on purpose. For Zhu Yuan in particular, I'll primarily talk about her M1 since it's the most impactful of her Mindscape ascensions, but I'll also skip to M4 since it's the second most impactful. M1 gives Zhu Yuan the quick reload effect after using any chain attack or ultimate. That effect refills her entire Shotshell Guage immediately after she empties it, resulting in a I'm always in suppressive mode kind of deal, which to my understanding, there's no limiter on this, meaning if you were somehow able to store a quick reload, expunge all your bullets, then do another chain attack immediately after that, you'd get quick reload again instantly. In longer fights like Neva or more tactical fights like the Ballet Twins, this would be huge to take advantage of. With M1, this could drastically change the way you play the character and even heavily influence a 2-cell over a 3-cell squad. And I'm not saying to run her without Nicole, by the way. Nicole's just too good to pass up. But in the event you wanted to challenge yourself, M1 would help you do that. If you go for anything to vertically invest in a Zhu Yuan, M1 is the play. Now M4 is a lot more dangerous once you combine the previous benefits of M1 into the kit. After hitting an enemy with Enhanced Shotshell, she ignores 25% of their ether damage by using suppressive mode shots and dash attacks. You see how that relates back to the standard or new BNB combo and the burst combo? A lot of the theory crafters are saying her damage is ridiculously low outside of burst combos. And if you're also one of those believers, then M4 is your money maker. Now with the combined utility of M1 and the raw power of M4, Zhu Yuan forces any enemy to play her game at all times. She's almost a one-woman army at this point, but I guess it'd be really hard for her to do that without having proper gear. With the largest chunk of the guide out of the way, let's run down her preferred gear before we get into the best teams. First up, W engines. While most of us are used to what brings the most damage or boosted stats, I strongly believe Zenless Zone Zero's gear system is way closer to the concept of which W engine you choose and how that can completely change the way you play the character, or rather, what you're able to do in the first place. Ride Suppressor Mark 6 is Zhu Yuan's signature weapon and of course her best. While most damage calculations are showing you the difference is about 3 to 5% from her free-to-play counterparts, I personally haven't felt that, especially while playing the character as some of you recommended, which is purely burst oriented. Mark 6 requires you to use an EX special in order to receive 8 charge stacks that increase her basic attack damage by 35%. To my understanding, these charges have no time limit, meaning you will always have increased damage on your enhanced basic attacks within those 8 shots. Getting the EX skill is a lot harder when you don't have her on field enough to build her own energy, which then makes this weapon feel even worse by comparison. But if you do play her in a much more active role, it's essentially a permanent uptime plus free crit rate. The Brimstone is her next best recorded option as a standard S rank weapon due to the mega attack percent buff it gives, or combat attack if you prefer using that term. This weapon suffers a major drawback when playing the character in a burst oriented way though, and that's to the fact you need to time that burst combo around the 8-second pre-buff by doing basic attack, dash attacks, or dodge counters. Sometimes it seems obvious to just do that first, but the average player isn't keeping track of these pre-buffs during the heat of battle. Most of us are focused on not getting hit. There's a slight positive that you'll gain this buff during your burst combo too, but you'll be stacking the buff while using the buff instead of already having the maximum mega attack percent buff in the first place. Does that make sense? If you play this character with those previously mentioned combos in mind, then even I believe Brimstone is worth using over the Mark if you already have it. If you don't have either option, then your next best weapon is Starlight Engine, which is the last W engine being recommended and is completely free to play. A 25% unconditional attack percent buff, and once you reach S5, you'll get about 19% more. The condition being 1 dodge counter or quick assist every 12 seconds. That's honestly not difficult at all if I'm being honest, but again, you have to actually play the character on field and not be using her as only a burst DPS. And I want to stress that part. It's not me saying that she's not geared or tailored to burst oriented DPS playstyle. What I mean by this is if you, for whatever reason, hear burst DPS and you're thinking very literally, and you're only going to bring her out when you have the decibel rating of 3000, you are now not playing the character as intended. The entire gist of the matter is Zhu Yuan excels once you fully grasp the benefits of turning her on and off in between the gameplay. At that point, it doesn't matter which of these 3 weapons you use because she's going to blow a hole in somebody's back no matter what. Diving straight into the disc drives, the set everyone should be farming for is Chaotic Metal. Not only does this increase her ether damage, but it also gives her a free 53% crit damage boost for doing something she's already going to do anyway: corrupt the enemy. This is yet another way Zhu Yuan builds natural crit values, allowing you to mix and match your main stats to balance out your build. On top of that, the routine domain housing Chaotic Metal also houses Swing Jazz, which is amazing for anyone on Zhu Yuan's team. All of her typical teammates have high energy costs, so a free 20% ERR would do wonders for them getting their EX skills faster. More EX meter equals more quick assists, more skills, more buff up times, and so on. That 4-piece is even better on Nicole since she becomes a buffing monster for the entire team. Welcome to efficient farming, everyone. Woodpecker Electro is her next best in slot, giving Zhu Yuan 27% mega attack that she's missing from her kit, on top of the free 8% crit rate. This set is perfect once you creep up towards that infamous 100% crit rate, but farming it this early on in a lot of our accounts is going to be annoying. But then again, I guess a huge positive to that is Zhu Yuan actually loves defensive units on the team that work as stunners, so maybe that works out. Puffer Electro works great for a 2-piece filler, and so does Hormone Attack to round it off. Your desired main stats will be crit rate or damage on your 4th disc, depending on your team, ether damage in the 5th slot, but penetration or attack percent work here too, whichever of those happen to be your better gears. And lastly, attack percent on disc 6. Substats are of course crit values and attack. While your goal is a solid 1-to-2 crit ratio, stopping at about 70% crit rate, the rest of our kit is just going to give you the other 30. The main question Zhu Yuan would ask any teammate is, how do you help me continue to unload as much damage as possible on any given enemy without leaving the field? Thankfully, her best teammates are super free to play friendly and honestly just come down to a few formulas or methods, strategies. Just keep the simple stuff in mind. Zhu Yuan's biggest crutch any one player will face is getting bopped out of suppressive mode. The window for dodging is pretty open when she's in assault mode, but if you aren't out here studying enemy attack patterns or you're just mashing, then you will get hit. Now, what's the best solution for that? You give her a shield. The obvious answer is Ben, but this easily applies to the newly announced Seth as well, who's already from Zhu Yuan's faction. And right now, I'm just waiting to see if Seth is going to have a stronger shield than Ben, because Ben's shield is good, but it ain't the best. Currently, I believe defense characters are slept on for what they provide in this game right now, and Zhu Yuan benefits from all of it. So here, I'll use Ben to represent the example today. Not only does he provide a shield, but he provides roughly the same amount of days buildup a free character like Anby does, and gives you another stack of 16% free crit rate just for having this shield. Obviously, this is thanks to his core passive, but I feel like I shouldn't have to explain that too much, but it is what it is. Double that with Ben's interesting ability to reduce the number of assist points used when parrying, and he's filling 2 roles for the cost of 1. Defense characters offer Zhu Yuan more field time, free counters without using the assist meter, stat bonuses, and the unique ability to mitigate interruptions during her suppressive mode attacks. Now, this could be followed up with your supportive choice, but since we're pushing Ben for this idea, let's add Lucy. Not only does Lucy take a small amount of field time, but she also keeps Zhu Yuan in the fray. When using EX Home Run, Lucy will provide Zhu Yuan a quick assist that zips her from anywhere on the screen directly to the enemy. This also gives the entire team, including her own guard boars, an increase of up to 600 flat attack. Mind you, all 3 of these minions are constantly doing damage. They can interrupt small enemies, and they have juggle properties. Since Zhu Yuan can pretty much guarantee her own corruption status with a single combo, you can find a lot of value in treating her like the off element piece while using the other 2 agents as a main element for disorder functions. Fire is great, not just for the units I mentioned, but also because half the enemies that are resistant to ether would otherwise be weak to fire. It kind of helps you balance out those impossible matchups when you already have limited DPS units as it is. Using a team like this offers you a more passive or defensive type of playstyle while still keeping Zhu Yuan as active as possible and taking advantage of the burst opportunities that she's going to be getting during chain attacks and outside of chain attacks. But let's say you're looking for a much more aggressive burst-oriented team, the standard, yeah? That's where bringing a powerful stunner like Xing Yi or Anby comes into play. If you're looking for the high-octane, fast burst rotation type of playstyle, then this is the team for you. By putting focus on building the days meter as fast as possible with your stun characters like Xing Yi and Anby, you can maximize the opportunities for burst damage combos while simultaneously stacking anomaly during these fast rotations. Combining the lightning fast attacks that Xing Yi brings to the table with the fact she has a stun damage multiplier that climbs even higher than Lycan's own. She has her own version of CC, and on top of all of that, she can function as the sub DPS on the team. Xing Yi becomes an absolute monster on a team with Zhu Yuan. And at this point, adding Nicole, Lucy, or even Rina just comes down to personal preference. Nicole offers defense shred, more grouping, crit rate boost, and fast corruption pops. Lucy grants a giga attack buff to the entire team, adds 3 new allies to the field, and brings crit damage to the entire team. And lastly, Rina adds up to 30% penetration to the team, brings shock to the team, and has fat boost. Zhu Yuan is an absolutely outstanding character that I genuinely believe might be the best pickup for free-to-play players right now. She offers both an aggressive and reserve playstyle for either type of player, boasts incredibly strong team options regardless of you being free-to-play or a big baller, and you're significantly rewarded with insane damage the more you invest into her. If you've been questioning whether or not Zhu Yuan is worth it to you and you're looking for a second DPS, I'd say go for it. If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.